more. But Democrats would rather prolong an endless, unwinnable proxy war just so they can call Trump a traitor for stopping it.
They're going to be running for re-election in a couple of years or next year. I wonder if they're really going to want to run with Vladimir Putin as their running mate, because right now that's how Donald Trump is setting things up.
World peace shouldn't be political. But Democrats haven't settled on a leader or even a message about anything. They're still stuck on anti-Trump, even though that message hasn't gotten them anywhere. Members of Congress say they may walk out of the chamber during the speech.
I mean, it will look different for every member, I think, this go-around. We shouldn't be surprised if we see walkouts. We shouldn't be surprised if we see, you know, the kind of coordinated effort in dressing a certain way to send a message. We shouldn't be surprised if we see people might even, you know, verbally react to some of the lies that we know he is going to tell about the work that his administration is doing and the harm that is causing the American people.
The ladies of The View want to see more, or maybe a little less.
What should they do? Should they sit and listen? Should they get butt naked and dance around? What should happen? Or should they all wait till the end when freshman Senator Elise Slotnick gives the Democratic response? Anybody?
I think they should walk out en masse.
Naked or clothed?
Naked. Naked would be good.
Naked could be interesting.
I mean, they should walk out. I think we've passed the point of no return with him, and we need to really stand up to him big time.
Some Democrats are bringing props, noisemakers, signs, empty egg cartons, red cards, I guess, like for soccer, and hand clappers, whatever those are. Loud, obnoxious stunts to get attention aren't what Americans want to see from the Democrats. They want to see cooperation or at least a better idea. Democrats haven't done either. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries is begging them to stop. He says no props. Hakeem says don't create a spectacle that could be seized upon by the GOP. Well, we'll see who listens. The party has a 36% approval rating. That's a record low. They're out of touch, and their priorities are just out of whack, and they haven't even laid a glove on Trump since he's been sworn in. They can't even decide what to wear tonight. The Women's Caucus is wearing pink, the Ukrainian Hawks are wearing blue and yellow, and the Congressional Black Caucus is wearing black. Democrats used to have a well-oiled machine fighting for their propaganda, and now they've collapsed, and they've been reduced to this.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up.
That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are up, not down.
That's what you've just heard.
Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency,
prices are up, not down.
And that's the truth.
I mean, telling voters you're a puppet won't put you back in power. Speak freely and think independently, then maybe you'll have a shot. Trump has a mandate to change Washington, no matter how much the left's in denial.
He won the popular vote by 1.5%, one of the smallest ever, and he won the general election by less than 50%. So what kind of mandate is this really?
Well, it is a mandate, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't mind the question, but let me be very clear. I'm no supporter of Trump. I'm a supporter of truth and the facts. And here's the facts. The man won every swing state. He increased in terms of his voter turnout in his favor from the standpoint of blacks, Latinos, and young voters. He increased his numbers in that regard for 2020. 89% of the counties shifted to the right. That's a mandate. I don't understand how people can look at that and say, there's no mandate. There's a mandate.
Donald Trump reignited a sense of American ambition, that nothing's impossible without a little hard work and common sense. We're on the cusp of an artificial intelligence revolution and a new era of American expansionism. Independent media, Bitcoin, drone tech, and private space exploration are all new frontiers that America's barreling towards with a fresh sense of confidence. And the president, who dodged a bullet and prison, feels blessed by God to take this country to the future and beyond. And the fact that he's not running for re-election means that this isn't political. We're just trying to make history together. Valuetainment founder Patrick Bet-David is here now. Big night tonight. What do you expect from 47?
I think he's going to be on attack mode right off the bat. You got to realize this, Jesse. When you think about the first 43 days, 44 days of a president being in office, there has never been a leader that came in with a level of disruption at the speed, at the pace, where the opposition doesn't know what to do. They're sitting there saying, I don't even know what we're going to do next. If it isn't one thing, it's the next thing, then the next story, and the next story. Meeting with Zelensky, doing it the vlog style with the cameras wide open. We're getting a chance to see exactly how Zelensky is negotiating behind closed doors. And you've seen JD come up and fight against him, the comments being made, and then now comments he's talking about, he wants to have a crypto reserve. And then you're seeing what DOGE is doing. Every day we're learning something new. This is going to be a very scary one. I would advise Hakeem Jeffries to not do what his former example of a leader did. I highly recommend him not doing something like this, because it's not going to be a good look with this guy, because he's going to want to negotiate with this guy. Don't do what Nancy did a few years ago.
Well, he's not going to do that, but he has no respect over his caucus. They say there's going to be props, there's going to be walkouts. What's that going to look like for Americans watching at home?
I hope they do that, Jesse. I sincerely hope they do that. Think about it this way. There is Stephen A. Smith, who's a sports guy for ESPN, is more being talked about right now, sounding like common sense, than any other candidate they have today. They're voting for preventing boys from competing in women's sports, and they voted 45 to 51. Are you kidding me? So even think about the Democrats who are sitting there. They want to vote Democrats because their parents were for John F. Kennedy. Their parents were for, hey, we're going to go land on the moon before the decade. Their parents were all about what Kennedys were. They're sitting there saying, honey, what are we talking about right now? The Dems still want boys to compete in women's sports? I thought the Dems were for women. I thought the Dems were for no war. Why are we still wanting to fund Zelensky? What happened to the Democratic Party? I hope they do exactly what they're saying they're going to be doing to try to disrupt, to try to make it difficult, to try to agitate. I hope they do that because it shows so much weakness. I cannot wait for them to do it because they're so predictable.
Yeah, and the president's going to give them a little jazz as they walk out or do whatever they do. You said in the beginning that the president's going to be on attack mode, and you made some references to places where he can exploit women's sports, things like that. Do you expect kind of a sharp partisan attack to really press his advantage, or do you see him kind of rising above it the way historically presidents do in these bigger moments?
This is not like the previous presidents we've had. Okay, we've learned one thing about President Trump. He has been himself for 78 years. He trusts himself. He's going to ask his advisors for what they think. But the guy got here individually when even his own party gave up on him. So the man's instincts, his intuition, his trust in himself is very high. He has nothing to prove. He's going to get up there and present to the people he's speaking to and say, look, you are upset. A famous president a few years ago said elections have consequences. If we remember that, I hope he uses that line because the American people said they wanted him. 7 states, we're not talking 5, not 2, not 3, 7 for 7 states said, we want President Trump. Guess what? You can cry about it, you can bitch about it, you can say whatever you want. They wanted him as their president.
Things are happening really quickly, and you and I follow this for a living. It's what we do. We're all plugged in. We see it happening every day, and we build off of it. Most Americans can't even keep up with this pace. It's just so fast. You get whiplash. Does he need to come out tonight and just explain what he's done, how he's done it, why he's done it, and how it's going to deliver success?
Yeah, I don't think if it's what he needs to do, it's what he's going to do. One thing President Trump's very good at, he's very good at stating his victories and what they're doing, and doing it over and over and over again. He understands the power of affirmation.
That's what he's the best at. That's probably true.
That's right. That's right. He's a promoter. You got to give him credit. It's very hard to have a TV show being a #1 hit for 15 years and you want to be in all these movies. He's going to make sure everybody in America watches where he says, while you were busy taking care of your wives, your kids, your husbands, your families, doing your jobs, paying your bills. I've been doing my job as a president, keeping on the promises that I gave you. We're getting there. We're stumbling on some of the stuff, but we're going to do our part. Future looks bright. He's going to give a message like that.
All right. Valuetainment. Good to see you, PBD. Always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Likewise. Thank you.
Any moment, Donald Trump departs the White House. A live report next.
There are some things that work better together, like your workplace benefits and retirement savings.
Presentation looks great.
Thanks. Voya provides tools that help you make the right investment and benefit choices so you can reach today's financial goals. That one. And look forward to a more confident future.
That is one dynamic duo. Voya. Well planned, well invested, well protected.
We always loved cooking, and we found a restaurant that let us get in with no business background. Then one customer came along, put us on TikTok, and the next night there was about 300 cars in line.
To be able to have 28 employees and everybody's paid well, it just makes us feel so much more accomplished that we can take our team and have them grow with us.
We wanted to build a legacy, and that's exactly what we're doing on TikTok.
We finally beat Medicare.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
Joe Biden's legacy for seniors? He raided Medicare, made premiums skyrocket, and drove up drug costs. Worse, the Biden pill penalty is already slashing the development of affordable drugs, forcing seniors to pay the price of Biden's failed policy. Biden broke Medicare, but President Trump can fix it. Call Congress and urge them to end the Biden pill penalty.
My name is Nicole Carduse, and my husband is Michael J. Carduse. He served in the Air Force for 23 years. I honestly grew up with Mike. We went on a date, and we got married 3 months after that. We have 6 kids. They all remind me of him in different ways, actually, and it's kind of beautiful. Mike and I were living on Andrews Air Force Base when 9/11 happened. Honestly, that day changed the rest of our lives. From then on, our whole world became very real. Mike was deployed twice, in 2004 to Qatar, and then he was in Afghanistan. I'm very proud of Mike. He did what he was called to do. It was the man he was. Mike came to me in March of 2022 and said, "Can you feel these lymph nodes?" And they were swollen. On Thursday, he got a phone call that said, "You have lymphoma, you're gonna need chemo, it's treatable." He died the next morning. After Mike died, they did an autopsy, and his death certificate reads like an oncology textbook. It has all been contributed to him being in Afghanistan and the burn pits of Afghanistan. My biggest fears were, how do I financially support the kids? How do I emotionally support the kids? And how am I going to just keep our life intact? And then Tunnel to Towers paid off my mortgage on Veterans Day of 2023. I felt like I was seen, I was being taken care of, that my service mattered to somebody. It's life-changing. Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Let us do good.
After Trump's joint address to Congress, Sean has instant reaction and analysis with special insight from Ted Cruz and Mike Johnson. Tonight at 11 on Hannity.
Hi, I'm Cade Courtley, and welcome to the Ford Patriots Buy One, Get One solar generator event. Claim the Patriot Power Generator 2000X, and you'll get a free Patriot Power Sidekick with 2 free solar panels. These are 2 of Ford Patriot's silent, fume-free solar generators that can power your fridge, TV, and critical devices without ever needing gas. Every American should have the peace of mind that comes from having backup power. Visit FordPatriots.com to secure your free generator and solar panels now.
Gentlemen, there's a war in your face, and the enemy is relentless. Eye bags, dark spots, wrinkles, dry skin. They will stop at nothing to make you look older than you feel. But You don't have to stand by and surrender. It's time to fight back with Particle, face cream for men. Particle's 6-in-1 formula is the secret weapon you've been looking for. It's the ultimate counterattack against the signs of aging. The mission: diminish eye bags, reduce wrinkles, remove dark spots, defeat dry skin. Enlist with Particle today and join men just like you who decided to fight back and won the battle against aging. Visit particlemen.com. Lock in your target. Use the promo code on your screen to secure 25% off your entire order. We're offering free shipping and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Join the fight with Particle.
Fox News alert, you're looking live at the White House, where President Trump will soon depart for his joint congressional address. And this just in, Trump staff's pre-gaming with McDonald's. Peter Ducey, did you get a Big Mac?
It looks like they've got McDoubles, Jesse, and it's funny that you just put that up because as we were coming to air, I had this post that you're showing on screen, sent to me by a former Biden comms official who wrote, pizza is the better play. And so we are at the point of the coverage now where if there are no excerpts, we might start individually counting McNuggets and fries, which we can do depending on how things go. But we do believe President Trump is going to be talking a lot tonight about tariffs, and he's going to try to squeeze some money from these congressmen and women in the building. He's going to try to squeeze some border money out of them. And he is going to have at least a few unannounced special guests. We don't know what exactly, at which point in the program that's going to be, but in addition to the people that they have told us about that you've seen on our air throughout the day, there will be some surprises. And I've also been told there were some wires crossing this afternoon about the possibility of the U.S.-Ukraine rare earth minerals deal coming back to life. And everybody that I asked here at the White House was telling me they didn't want to get ahead of the president. So there could be an announcement about really burying the hatchet after Friday's Trump-Zelensky blow-up in the Oval Office. Something else that is new and different, at least to my ears, President Trump did not do any formal prep for this speech. I called Caroline Leavitt earlier and asked her what she could tell us about the prep. She said there is no formal prep. And as you can see, some of the motorcades are staging that could be either Vance or Trump. No formal prep. We know from the past administration, the past couple years, for days ahead of a big speech like this, they would set up a podium with the prompters and the presidential seal either here or at Camp David so that President Biden could be surrounded by advisors telling him how to say certain things, how to use his hands, how not to, how to be prepared for an interruption, which he was when Marjorie Taylor Greene brought up Laken Riley last year. Donald Trump does not want to hear from his advisors about any of that. So it will be in his voice. He was a big part of the crafting of the speech, but he has not been in there doing like a big prep session with people telling him what he did wrong. Jesse.
You know, Ducey, the last time they bragged about not prepping was the debate with Kamala, where he said they were eating the cats and eating the dogs. So hopefully,
and now they're eating the
he's
McDonald's.
already prepped. And now they're eating the McDoubles. You kind of alluded to something. I want to see if I'm reading you right. Are you saying that there's a chance that Zelensky might be a special guest tonight and that they might announce the mineral deal with him as the surprise guest?
Yeah, I saw like a big 5-foot king cake. I assume he's going to come out of it. No, I have specifically asked if Zelensky is going to pop up, and I was told that is not something that the White House is tracking.
All right. It's not like Beyonce is going to perform during the DNC that Kamala pulled. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. All right, Ducey, enjoy the McNuggets. Count them as you pop them. Save me some barbecue sauce.
Thanks, Jesse.
Let's bring in Republican candidate for Ohio governor. Might as well just call him governor already. Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek, the spirit of the country has changed significantly since the last administration. The theme is the restoration of the American dream. What do you think he's going to hit tonight?
Well, talk about the contrast first, Jesse, from a year ago. I think that's what Donald Trump should and will hit. A year ago, when Biden addressed that same body, we had open borders, the largest influx of illegals into this country in American history, rampant inflation, and wars around the world from Ukraine to the Middle East that were still escalating at that time. Now look at where we are just a few weeks into this presidency. Sealed the border, rampant downturn in the number of illegal encounters at the southern border, great economy that's heading in the right direction, and those wars are de-escalating and on their way, hopefully, to resolution. So I think Donald Trump has made tremendous progress. He's a human being, not a magician. That means that we were left with a major mess coming out of that last Biden-Harris administration, whatever you want to call it. The reality is that's still going to take a bit of time to dig out of, and I think he should be frank with the American people who are going to be patient with him, who are behind him, who gave him that mandate for sweeping change. And I love that theme centered on the American dream, Jesse, because it's not just about what we're cleaning up or what we're tearing down, but also what fills that void and what takes its place. The idea of economic empowerment and educational empowerment for Americans across the country. I think that's a great way to kick this next chapter off.
You know, these themes are very hard to run against if you're a Democrat. It's very hard to run against common sense, putting America first, restoring the American dream. Do you expect him to step on the Democrats' neck tonight, or do you see him saying, come along with us, let's do this together?
Look, I think it's going to be a little bit of both, a little bit of holding the other side accountable. But at this point, we have control of both the presidency, we have both chambers of Congress, we have a conservative majority on the Supreme Court. The fact of the matter is it's now or never for saving the country. And I think it's with that attitude that Donald Trump and this new administration has moved beyond just the past of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But the question is now, what are we running to? What are we chasing? What is our future? And I like the idea of restoring this idea of the American dream. Notice how we haven't even talked about that, verbalized the idea of the American dream over the last several years in our country. That's changing. What is the American dream? The idea that you can look your kids in the eye and tell them and mean it, that you get ahead in this country with your own hard work and commitment and dedication, that you're free to speak your mind at every step of the way without censorship. Things that we took for granted when you and I were growing up, Jesse, things that we couldn't take for granted in the last several years. So I do think that this marks a bit of a transition, tonight does, from holding the prior administration accountable to say, we're turning the page on that. We're done with that chapter. Now we're moving on to our vision of what we actually stand for, not just as Republicans, but as Americans. And I will tell you, I was with Donald Trump over the weekend. I'm really proud of his sense of self-confidence and leadership style. He's at a level that even exceeds that first presidency of his. It's the second time in history that you have a president who took a break for 4 years, had a chance to reflect, then come back to take the country to the next level. This is historic tonight. It's only the second time in history that you have a president coming back to be able to address a body like this after 4 years away. And I think he's ready for that task and then some.
And we're looking live here at some of the video of the White House as the president is about to get in the motorcade and head over to the Capitol. You said you've never seen the president so confident. Many people see the president as the most confident person they've ever seen in their entire lives. You're saying he has even more confidence.
I think it's a justified confidence, Jesse, because the reason for that is, look at the turnaround he's been able to implement in a few short weeks, accomplishing more positive things for the country than I think President Biden did in literally 4 years in office. And so I think President Trump has exceeded those expectations. But as time passes, we're going to be talking less about Biden and more about what we're actually accomplishing. And one of the things I love about President Trump is he loves to keep people on their toes. He's going to, I would expect, have a few surprises woven in tonight, just like we're going to have positive surprises over the next couple of years. And I do think that that's what people love about him. He's spontaneous. He's authentic. That's what we voted for. We didn't vote for incremental change. We voted for sweeping structural change. That's what he's delivering. And I think it's going to take the country to, I really mean this, Jesse, not in a fake politician way, but in a true way. I mean this. Our best days still ahead of us. That's where he's going to lead us.
All right, Vivek, thank you so much. We're just looking live at the beast right there, the president's motorcade, keeping the car idling, ready to go over to deliver this speech. Thanks so much, Vivek. There he is. There you have the President of the United States with the First Lady, Melania Trump, walking into the presidential limousine. They call it the Beast. It's indestructible, and making himself comfortable after a few Big Macs or Quarter Pounders with cheese, probably a large fry and a Diet Coke, and got about a 10-minute ride over to the Capitol where he'll be delivering this speech to Congress. Let's bring in Kid Rock, who we spoke to during around the inauguration, I believe. And what's that been, about 43 days? Lots happened since then, Kid.
Yeah, where do you want to start?
I mean, I don't even know where to start. Where do you start? I don't even know if I could give this speech in 3 hours. There's been so much to talk about.
It's been unbelievable to sit back and watch. Just to, I mean, go figure, to have a politician, not a politician, somebody who comes into this from complete opposite of a politician from a business standpoint, makes a list, tells people what he's going to do, and wow, he goes out and starts doing them, just checking the list off one by one, just basically kicking ass and taking names.
So they've really got the Democrats struggling, and we're hearing there's going to be some stunts tonight. You know a thing or two about stunts, grabbing attention, maybe causing a ruckus. Anything you're thinking of that they could possibly do? Any advice for them?
Maybe just shut up, sit there, and learn something. I mean, how'd that work when Nancy, did her little, tore up her little thing? What, Ilhan Omar's going to walk out? I mean, come on, just, collect your things from your office, put a basket on your head, and walk back to where you came from. That's what I would say.
You told me the last time you actually played at President Obama's inauguration, so you're someone who respects the office. Isn't this just about respecting the office these nights?
It should be. It should absolutely be. I mean, they're obviously still butt sore because their message was so horrible, just so terrible for the last 4 years with everything that's going on with this, woke mind virus. Start there and just move down the list. And finally, it's the old talking point, but it's common sense, just to hear common sense coming from a group of people who are in there. I've never been more excited about the group of people that are surrounding the president, that he's put into office. I've been fortunate enough to know a lot of them personally, and just to, just being at the Daytona 500, it was like, just sitting there with some mutual friends was like, it feels like America. We're celebrating America, all the things that are great about our country. And it really does. America's back, baby.
No, we are so back. There's no doubt about that. You mentioned, running around with some of these people surrounding the president. Have you seen Musk, the DOGEnator, recently? He's been a little busy.
I saw him Sunday. I was golfing with the president,
Did
and Elon showed up the last. Yeah, I saw him. He showed up the last few holes with his mother May, who couldn't be sweeter, and man, we had so much fun. He showed me this. He showed me this new thing he's got called Grok, and it's like this app that you go, and it's got this mode called Unhinged, and this guy's got balls to put this thing out. It is beyond fun and funny. If you don't mind a few curse words here and there, and something going hard in the paint is an AI thing, it is bananas.
Unhinged mode. I got to get into that. All right. I'll see what I can find there after the show. That sounds like a great round you had. Maybe I'll hear more about that afterwards. I know I'm not allowed to go to your parties. I was banned from the inaugural party at your hotel room, but maybe you could fill me in later. Thank you so much, kid.
God bless.
All right. Ruthless podcast co-hosts Josh Holmes and John Ashbrook join us. Now, you guys are dressed a little differently than Kid Rock. Where's your hat?
Oh, we got to class this thing up. First of all, we're following Kid Rock, and then look at this place. Nothing but the best for the Fox
did you play golf with Donald Trump and have Kid Rock show up with his mom at the last hole?
You can't beat that. You literally cannot beat that.
That would be an invitation you cannot decline. No.
All right, so you guys have seen these before. We keep hearing about a special guest. A surprise guest. You have any idea who that could be?
No, it's President Donald Trump. It could be literally anyone, right? The one takeaway that when you're in the venue that is hard to completely encapsulate on TV, just how small everything is. And if you're going to get stunts out of Democrats and everything else, it's very personal, right? And so this has a capability. If Democrats say what they're going to do or they're actually going to do, it could really backfire on them.
Like you could smell Bernie Sanders' breath. Yeah. That's how close you are.
That's what I'm talking about.
And you know it's going to be terrible. Donald Trump is going to be so bold tonight. And what I'm really watching for is what you're talking about, how Democrats react. Some people are saying they're going to have noisemakers. Some people are saying they're going to walk out of the chamber. I don't know why they're walking in if they're just going to walk out. But Americans know that they've been walking out on them for a generation, and they were not going to be surprised if they walk out tonight.
Yeah, now Hakeem is begging him not to walk out. He says no props, no noisemakers, nothing. If they do that, does Hakeem lose all his street cred?
I mean, I think the problem is that his colleagues seem to have a humiliation fetish over the last 6 weeks. I mean, literally everything you wouldn't want them to do, they've done in spades. So, yeah, he tells them not to walk out. I have no doubt they're going to do something, or somebody's going to, because they can't help themselves.
Right.
Now, the audience watching at home, I mean, they can't keep track of what's been going on. We keep track of it for them, but even we have a hard time. I have like 13 producers.
Right.
Every day is like another slew of achievements. Would you tell it like a story? You know, this is how we started, this is where we are, this is where we're going, or you just want to just rattle off a list?
I think it's a good way to do it. I mean, and I think the president will have plenty of stories tonight. He's obviously got a handful of special guests with very important stories of their own that they weren't able to tell during the last administration, and he is going to put.
And we have Vance walking in right now with, I think, Senate Majority Leader Thune, Barrasso, some of the senators here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great night. You know that President Trump is going to put on a show. Nobody's better at entertaining the American people, and he's going to do it tonight.
Yeah, we see the senators walking in. We got Johnson, we got Scott out of Florida. I mean, a lot of these guys look very similar. The fact that I'm noticing who they are is pretty amazing.
Big DC guy now.
Big DC guy now. I'm pretending at least. So the tax deal, that looks like it's moving. So a lot of people are saying, you know, Trump, you got to focus on the economy here. The Democrats are saying, well, you know, what about the prices? We're looking at a tax and regulation cut that's coming, what, within a couple weeks?
Well, they're certainly going to start.
And there we have Liz Warren coming in.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I expect that to play a big role in tonight's speech. I think he's got to focus on the economy. The tax piece, of course, a signature achievement from his first 4 years. They're going to want to get that done. They're going to want to communicate to the rest of the world that the American economy is back in a really big way. I expect that to lead the way.
Do you expect any sort of bipartisanship? I mean, some of these Democrats look like they're enjoying themselves. Maybe they had a glass of cab before they got there. Who knows?
Well, you'd certainly like to see it. But these Democrats have voted against this president time and time again. On the border, for example, that's a big thing that he's going to be talking about tonight because he has accomplished a hell of a lot in his first month. I mean, border crossings are down 95%. The arrests are up 600%.
And if you tout that, how are Democrats not going to applaud?
Well, but that's the problem that they have, right? In 6 weeks, they voted against deporting absolute criminals from this country, and then last week they voted to have men and women's sports. I mean, it's time and time again. You'd like to see the bipartisanship, but if the voting record is any indication, I don't know.
And there you have the president arriving at the Capitol in quite a significant motorcade. Looks like he and Melania enjoyed the quick ride over there. They clear traffic, don't they? There's no traffic for the president.
Yeah, they sure. Green lights all the way. It's a 5-minute ride.
And this is this is his fifth one. I mean, he's not new at this.
Right.
Biden came in, not the greatest delivery.
Terrible.
I remember the last one of these we were covering, and he was like 20 minutes late. We thought there was a medical emergency.
Right.
As you see the senators walking in with Thune and Vance and Barrasso coming in, shaking some hands. Everybody wants their photos taken.
That's right.
Of course they
when
do.
this happens. They lean in. Sometimes they fall over. That's Marjorie Taylor Greene right there.
And sometimes you get House members who show up in the chamber like at lunchtime so that they can stand next to the aisle and hope to shake hands with
They've
President
been camping out.
A lot of autograph signing in the aisle.
Right.
They don't have anything else to do for the American people. Right. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks
Josh.
so much.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
All right, let's bring in former NASCAR driver and host of the Pretty Intense podcast, Danica Patrick. It's a pretty intense podcast. Danica, great to see you. How are you?
Good to see you, Jesse. I'm watching the Beast come in, and I'm wondering if I'll ever get a chance to drive the Beast.
The Beast was at the track the other day. I don't think it went very fast. It's more of a show horse. Maybe anything's possible with this presidency. You might be able to take it for a few laps in a couple of years.
Well, a long, long time ago, I did drive the Madden bus to start off the NFL season around Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So I think the Beast would be quite an upgrade, even though still heavy, not an actual bus. So that would be pretty fun, and even better if he was in the car.
obviously. I'm sure he'd talk your ear off. Do you know what this is like? You are new at this. You just kind of became politically awake recently. You kind of got involved in this campaign. How does this feel for you?
I mean, it's like now every day I watch the news. I watch you to keep up with what's going on. And thank goodness you have 13 producers to keep you informed, because that helps keep me informed. But I'm just realizing that it's important, and that what happens inside the government really matters. And I feel like proud to be on the right side of it and to be promoting these positive things. I mean, just for instance, the fact that we're trying to get men out of women's sports, things like that. These are important issues that affect people for real. So, and it's exciting. I kind of like DC. I've been to DC a few times, and I don't know if you like it, but I get good vibes in DC.
I like to visit, and then I like to leave, like most places. I like to leave right afterwards. Great to talk to you, Danica, and it's exciting that you got involved in this process, and more people are getting involved, and that's what this is all about. It's about bringing people in and doing this together. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jesse.
Guy Benson's the host of The Guy Benson Show, and Aaron Elmore is an attorney and Trump 24 political appointee. All right, so this is where the action happens, Guy. Everybody gets down into the aisle and starts shaking hands and getting selfies. And then the big night, what is this, about 30 minutes away? What do you want to see?
So I think at a lot of these things, it's about the agenda moving forward, this laundry list of things that a president might want to do, proposals, et cetera. I think we'll get plenty of that. He'll go, I bet, more than an hour. But I think what we're going to mostly see, and what his team's going to lean into, this is just a guess on my part, is a recap of the last 6 weeks. I mean, shock and awe every single day. And I think he's got this opportunity to talk directly to tens of millions of people saying, hey, we hit the ground running. Here's what we've done already. I think there's going to be some bragging, and some deserved bragging, frankly, on a lot of it before they move on to what comes next.
Because, Aaron, when you hear about the accomplishments, especially in the wake of an administration that didn't do a whole lot, it is kind of inspiring, if you're not a politically attuned person, to hear, wow, this is a government that does stuff.
Cutting the red tape. And by the way, the victory lap that President Trump is going to take around Washington is going to be so fast you won't even have time to say drain the swamp. And I think these accomplishments really do speak for themselves. The American people said we want change, and that change is Donald Trump. We see DEI out of our federal government, men out of women's locker room. We're restoring America to greatness, both domestically and abroad, in terms of our perception. Now, we don't have a president anymore that has handlers that have to walk him to his mark and gives a meaningless, lifeless speech on a teleprompter. We have someone that takes charge, can speak literally for hours on end at a time. The American people don't get a politician. They get someone that's talking directly to them and is achieving their objectives.
And then we have Elon Musk, a special guest as the DOGE administrator there tonight. And I don't think he has a son on his shoulders this evening, although that would be pretty fun. We just saw J.D. Vance, who's made quite a name for himself, especially after the last Oval Office meeting and the Munich speech there with Johnson, who was able to get that MAGA bill across the finish line.
At least so far, right? That was a big step one, and a victory lap last week, speaking of victory laps for Speaker Johnson. And what a change of scenery from the Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi images of some of those states of the union. And then it's going to be Trump, Vance, Johnson. Whole new cast of characters and a very, very new direction for the country.
All right, so we're going to have Johnson gavel this in, and then you're going to have the Joint Chiefs of Staff come in. We may even see some of the justices in robes follow that. There's Nancy Mace with Senator Ted Cruz. I'm sure they're just talking about football and, what they did on Saturday night. There's Ben Shapiro, looks like a special guest of Speaker Johnson, I believe. These guests that the president, Aaron, is bringing in, what kind of story do you expect him to tell with some of these people?
Well, we know that President Trump hates the mainstream fake news media, and some of these journalists who have stood up for him time and time again are the new era. We're ushering in a new time in America where people who are sort of street journalists that have done blogs, done podcasts, are in the building tonight, and I think that speaks volume. Donald Trump is the president of the people. He's a populist, and people like Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh they've had great movies. They started with the Daily Wire. They are really out there in this sort of that new generation, new era of journalism.
I also saw Riley Gaines, I think, sitting with them, and I would not be surprised to see the president lean into the protecting women's sports issue, because Senate Democrats just last night voted unanimously against a bill to protect women's sports, and that is an 80-20 issue in the other direction for them.
So you see Nancy there. Looks like she has a Ukraine flag, wearing pink. She's not going to rip anything up tonight. Will she applaud when the president talks about getting men out of women's locker rooms?
No.
She won't. No. And what does that tell the audience, that you're going to have a woman that powerful not stand with women?
There was an analysis done on another network by some polling gurus. They said that the executive order on that issue that Trump signed a few weeks ago may have been the single most popular thing he has ever done in terms of public opinion. And the Democrats seem to be lining up lock, stock, and barrel on the other side of it, which is certainly a choice.
That's one of those things that you can see as a viewer, Aaron. If you're going to have the president talking about, let's just say, banning paper straws or getting boys out of girls' sports or closing the border. These are common sense, popular ideas. If the Democrats don't show a little gumption, stand up, maybe just a golf clap. How about a golf clap, Aaron?
I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to be defiant, like an insolent toddler. I think we might see some of the Nancy clapping, right, in some sort of outburst, because they're having a very hard time sort of coming to Jesus about what has happened. You know, this was a mandate in Washington and beyond. House, Senate, popular vote, White House. It should really be sending the Democrats time for a moment of contrition, yet they're not doing that. And I think tonight that's why Donald Trump should say, we are back and better than ever. I got all of my cabinet secretaries through. It is completely stacked. We've got Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard. We're really winning on every front in Washington, and it's about time.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. Guy Benson, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Let's go to senior national correspondent Aisha Hasni. Aisha, what do we have cooking down there?
Hey, Jesse, it's a pretty cool scene here. I wish you could be here. We just saw a bunch of senators go in, of course, led by Vice President J.D. Vance. I believe that we're just now waiting for the Supreme Court justices to walk through Stat Hall here on their way into the chamber. So we're waiting for them. And then this is really going to get going here because the president, I believe, is now here at the Capitol. And as we watch these people walk in, really all eyes tonight are going to be on the Democrats and what they're going to be up to during the speech. Of course, in years past, Jesse, you'll remember we've seen, then Speaker Nancy Pelosi tear up President Trump's speech right behind him. We've seen plenty of Democrats boo him in the middle of his speech. So we're waiting to see what they do. We have heard a number of plans and things that they've talked about. Some of them might be wearing the Ukrainian colors, the Ukrainian flag, might be waving that because they want to show their support for Ukraine and aid for Ukraine. We've also heard people that might walk out right in the middle of this speech, and people who might say something, might shout something if they feel like, the president has said something that they have an emotional reaction to. A lot of different people are also going to boycott this. Like AOC has said that she's not going to be here in the room. She's going to be live tweeting about this instead. So we're waiting to see how they respond and react. And something that they've already done earlier, I know you've seen as well, and some of our viewers might have too, are these videos they put out on social media. About 20 different Senate Democrats got together and basically read the same script, used some expletives, and trashed the president's campaign promises ahead of tonight's speech. So that is what we're looking to see how disruptive the left is going to be, or if they're going to be strategic about this, because look, this is the president who won this election fair and square by a large majority of Americans. And so would it serve them to actually be disruptful? I'm not sure that their leadership would agree with that. Jesse?
All right, Aisha, thanks. I'm just so excited to see what props they have in store. It's like Carrot Top. I don't know what to expect. I'm on the edge of my seat. Let's go to outnumbered co-host and former White House press secretary Kayleigh McEnany is here. Kayleigh, I heard you got a sneak peek at some of the excerpts.
Yeah, I was just taking a look at them, and Jesse, this is not going to disappoint. I am incredibly impressed with what I had seen. I was a little nervous because Stephen Miller has a new role, and he's the best speechwriter I think we've seen in this country in quite some time. But these are incredible, what you're about to hear. And particularly, my concern today was I really hope he hits the economy. As some have said, the media focuses on DOGE, the media focuses on Ukraine. That's all great and well and good. But this president can own the economy. This president has seen a 10-point swing in the direction the economy is going. This president has seen the best numbers on the economy since before Joe Biden, a.k.a. when Trump was president. And I think he's going to give the American people a history lesson. We had the worst inflation in the last half century under President Joe Biden. He's working to flip that, and he's going to get into those remarks and tease the golden age of America. These are uplifting. They're not caustic. They're not fighting words from what I've seen as we see Mike Johnson gaveling in. This is a president that's ready to tout his more than 400 executive actions.
All right, and there's Speaker House Johnson right now gaveling us in. I believe we're going to have some of the Joint Chiefs come in. Let's listen.
Minnesota, Mr. Emmer. The gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. McClain. The gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Hudson. The gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Reschenthaler. The gentleman from Utah, Mr. Moore. The gentlewoman from Indiana, Mrs. Houchin. The gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Hearn. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Jeffries. The gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Ms. Clark. The gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar. The gentleman from California.
All right, so Kaylee, it's smart to really contrast where you've come from. Barack Obama did that basically the entire presidency. This is what I came out of. They got us into a ditch. I'm digging us out. And we heard him blame Bush for the entire 8 years. So you're saying what we should expect tonight is not just list the accomplishments of the last 40-something days. Tell us where we've been and how much it's going to take to get us out of this hole.
Yeah, that's just it. This is contrast messaging at its best. This is a president that's been there for 6 weeks. And what he's done just in 6 weeks is a stark contrast to the last 4 years. And the polling shows that, the Harvard-Harris poll. It's worth reflecting, Jesse, too, on the moment for President Trump here. You know, President Trump, the last time he stood at that dais you are looking at, he was standing there on the brink of COVID-19 in 2020. A pandemic was about to ravage the nation. He had just been through the impeachment over a perfect phone call. And then he had no clue that down the road there would be these trials that the Democrats put on. And here he will stand tonight as a president reelected, a president with a majority approval rating, according to CBS and Harvard-Harris. So I think you're going to see a victory lap from what I've read, but a contrast with the 4 years of darkness the American people have been through as we enter what President Trump calls the golden age.
And you have any idea who this surprise special guest is? Because it feels like everybody in Washington knows who it is, and they're just teasing me.
I don't know. You know, we remember he brought Rush Limbaugh. That was quite a moment. We'll see who he brings tonight. I don't know. Maybe Zelensky. I like the Zelensky out of the cake. That was a good one, Jesse.
All right. So maybe I was right about Zelensky. Well, I don't want to ruin the surprise, but who knows? That would definitely be very, very dramatic to get that mineral deal done with Zelensky in person, especially after that not so great, as we described it, Oval Office meeting. Kaylee, thank you so much. That's all for us. Brett and Martha are going to take over our special coverage.
Yes, we are. I think we're talking to you now.
Here you are.
Here we are. That was really smooth. What a great transition. I like.
You guys are just teasing me now. Everybody's making fun of me in Washington.
We love you.
I'm going to go back to New York.
We are just minutes away from President Trump's joint address to Congress. Always a big moment here in Washington. Not as big as that pause from Jesse, but it's big. The theme of tonight's speech is renewal of the American dream. It comes as President Trump tries to implement his agenda on the economy, foreign policy, the border, and slashing government waste. Good evening. From Washington, I'm Brett Baer.
And I'm Martha McCallum. Good to have you with us tonight. So the president is in the Capitol building, ready to deliver a speech that he hopes will highlight his accomplishments so far and outline his agenda for the future. The address will be followed by the Democratic response. As it always is, this time around, it is Michigan Democratic freshman Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
We are looking live there. You see the Vice President Vance and House Speaker Mike Johnson. Vice President Vance telling Sean Hannity this week he was getting his facial recognition and reaction ready because he'll be behind the president in full view as you look at the House chamber. By the way, tonight, the designated survivor is the Veterans Affairs Secretary Doug Collins. It's not just a Kiefer Sutherland show. It is the real thing during a joint address or State of the Union for continuity of government. All the people in the line of succession are in that chamber. Now you're seeing some of the other dignitaries coming in. These are the diplomatic corps.
Members of the Supreme Court.
And the members of the Supreme Court behind them. Joining us with a preview tonight, Harold Ford Jr., Dana Perino, and Britt Hume. Britt, we've been through a lot of these. And what's your thoughts on this one?
Well, I've been through a lot of them myself. I'm way up in the high 40s of these addresses, State of the Union addresses, or as in the case here, just a presidential address to Congress. It's not always the case that a president has much to point to, 6 weeks into his presidency. You know, you're just getting started. You may not have your cabinet in place or whatever. Your legislative agenda is just beginning to move. So you do the best you can. In this particular instance, because of this wave of executive orders and the things that the president learned how to do when he was president the first time, he's got quite a lot to show for it, especially and particularly the border. He has action he's taken against diversity and equity and inclusion initiatives and so on. So he's got a lot he could point to tonight.
You know, Dana, we're getting ready for the First Lady, Melania Trump, to walk in. Tonight, there's a lot of big issues, but a lot of this speech probably is going to be what has already happened. He's going to tout.
It is what Britt just said really struck a chord with me. Like, how often is it that you have a speech where in the first month the president can say, here's my list of accomplishments, and we're in the 80th minute of the speech still talking about that. But I also can't help but think about last year when President Biden gave the State of the Union speech. Because he was able to get through the speech, that was the sole justification for months and months that he was prepared to be commander-in-chief for another 4 years. And this is a very different situation.
And remember, we heard so much about the preparation, that he was at Camp David for days getting ready. His people were prepping him. Harold Ford Jr. joins us as well. Harold, your thoughts as we get ready for this to get started?
I like these nights, and I like a night better like this when the chamber is respectful. When the speaker is cheerful and lays out where he will one day say where he believes we're headed. And based on some of the things we're all hearing and seeing and reading here in the last few minutes, the president's ready to take a 6-week, not victory lap, but tell us why things are different, why momentum is back. And he'll have to address some of the tough questions around the economy as well. But I hope Democrats listen tonight, clap when appropriate, not clap when they choose not to. But I hope there are no walkouts or things that are disruptive like that.
President Trump
not attending, but
President Trump will say, according to the excerpts, our confidence is back, our spirit is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. It's unstoppable. So this president ready to take a bit of a victory lap and lay out his agenda going forward.
He's talked about a golden age for America. There you see Democrat members of the House. They decided to all wear pink tonight. Members of the Black Caucus will be in black this evening.
So let's take a moment, listen to the action down on the House floor. We're going to pause for the top of the hour. Again, President Trump just moments away. Our special coverage of tonight's joint address to Congress continues.
And here we go. We are getting ready to get into this, and I will tell you, everyone seems to be somewhat excited about this. Although, if you're paying attention here, you see a bunch of empty seats in all of this. And it's not to say that those people aren't going to show up or whatever, but Donald Trump is about to be coming in, and he is about to share his vision of where we are going and what we have done so far. And I will tell you, the bar is set pretty high here for him, as I mentioned before. And as I wrote in the post on this video, the simple fact of all of this is he has to convince the country that the media is misleading them. He's got to talk through them because this is his opportunity to speak directly to the media. He's got to explain to them what's going on in Ukraine. He can take a victory lap on the border. I think that's a no-brainer. People wanted that. He did that. And then what he needs to do is explain the issue with the tariffs and what the game plan is there. There's some reports that potentially the tariffs will be pulled off tomorrow. Maybe that's true. I don't know the answer to that question. But it's possible that is what's going to happen. And if that does happen, well, then I think sort of a blinking in all of this. And his power on tariffs goes away if he's the one who folds. So it'll be interesting to see what exactly he tries to sell this evening. His polling numbers are good. People seem to be relatively happy with his performance so far. Like I said, the media is framing it the way they do. But he's now got an opportunity to speak directly to the American people. And that's what he needs to do.
This is only the second president to do a second joint address, the other one being Grover Cleveland. As you see Nancy Pelosi, House Speaker Emeritus, they call her, sitting next to Steny Hoyer there, wearing the pink, and they are unified in their pink outfits tonight. We don't know what's going to happen with Democrats, as Harold mentioned earlier. Let's bring in our panel. Fox News chief political analyst Britt Hume. Dana Perino is co-anchor of America's Newsroom, co-host of The Five. Harold Ford Jr., former Tennessee congressman and co-host of The Five. We have a lot of those. And Larry Kudlow of Fox Business. Larry, let me start with you. Obviously heading into this speech, tariffs is the big talk of today and what it means for the U.S. economy. We assume as we're waiting for the First Lady to walk in, as she does right now, Melania Trump. What do you think about this moment and that economic issue?
Well, I think there's a lot of talk about modifying the tariffs that were slapped on Canada and Mexico today. It's a bit confusing. That's what Harold Lutnick told me on our show. You and I talked about it on your show. I don't know if the president will address the tariff.
If they start actually doing that and they start talking about modifying the tariffs already, it's a loss. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Donald Trump doesn't like to lose. But if he does that without any movement from Canada and China and all these other places, that's an L. I mean, it really is an L. There's also supposed to be like some sort of special guest. I have no idea who that is. Maybe it ends up being Donald Trump. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Looks like J.D. Vance is coming in here now. In the entire cabinet. Marco Rubio, by the way, was a great choice.
Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and behind him, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. All the cabinet members walking down, doing their meet and greet along the aisle. And we'll see that from the president in just moments.
It's remarkable how many of these cabinet members were affirmed so quickly. There's Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice, and Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, all looking happy and excited for this big night as they await the president's speech. They've been very busy. These people have fanned out all over the world in many cases and have gotten right down to work, eliminating DEI programs and being, also the subject of some pushback in many ways. There's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. entering the chamber right now, HHS, dealing with the measles outbreak.
Dana, a lot of State of the Union addresses, and we keep on saying this is a joint address, but essentially takes the form of a State of the Union address. They're mostly like laundry lists or shopping lists that a president wants from Congress. We're told that this process was a little upended this time and that each one of these cabinet secretaries smoothed out, was a little bit quicker as far as getting this speech together. You've been through this process.
Well, every cabinet secretary will definitely want something in the speech because then they can go out and market it and sell it. Now, this is a huge audience for the president tonight. One of the things that might be a little different from day to day is that it's not just political junkies or supporters or opponents, right? This is a big, broad audience. But he also is going to talk to Congress, and I think it's very important that he be clear in what.
I really wonder if they are going to have a walkout here. I wonder how he's going to be received. They're going to cheer him when he comes in. They're going to boo him. This is a guy they spent a lot of time demonizing and hating. And now they're going to have to glad hand him. It's going to be pretty interesting. Let me grab my clicker over here. We'll jump over and see what they're doing on MSNBC. See what they're saying there.
It was made for Russian TV. Kremlin-directed state Russian media was there, and the White House said they didn't know how as soon as that thing was over. And if that's not going to put a sort of shiver down your spine as to who's actually calling the shots at the top of the U.S. government, I don't know what will.
Oh, good. We're still doing the whole, it's the Russians. Just continuing down that path. I mean, I flipped over there randomly, and we landed on those damn Russians.
They're iced out of the inner circle, and everyone else in this administration who fought tooth and nail to get those cabinet and other positions. We all watched the transition where they were battling their way down at Mar-a-Lago. None of them are going to push back against the president because they don't want to be that odd man out.
And that speaks to the Marco Rubio dilemma. Because Marco, who I've known for a long, long time and know firmly where he stands, particularly on foreign policy issues like this, is now the arbiter, the guy who's got to do the execution against Ukraine and Zelensky.
The premise here is that Marco Rubio is some sort of stooge, not only for Russia, but for Trump now. And it is comically stupid. Marco Rubio went out and blew up the entire media narrative about Zelensky and how Zelensky handled that whole thing. And Zelensky's changed his tune today. And I'm assuming that's going to come up. Now, they were joking on Fox News earlier that Zelensky might be the guy who's going to be like a surprise. I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think that's going to be true. It would be pretty funny if it was, but only if he marched down the aisle and provided the transcript, or excuse me, the signed copy of the mineral deal. That's the only thing I want to see from that guy. Let's see what they're saying on CNN.
Is messaging DOGE better than Elon Musk is? If he's talking about he's talking about making the government work better for people, that's a winning message. But the constant errors that we've been seeing, the announcements of what have been cut.
Well, and the chainsaw.
He had a 3.5.
I mean, you know, let me say, if I were Democrats, I would never be opposed to, cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, making government more efficient, seeing how we can make government more responsive. And I think they make a mistake by being resistant to the notion of making government more efficient. But what Musk is doing seems much more indiscriminate. And I think that's what people,
Yeah, and guess what? Republicans love it. And I will just say, I think the Democrats...
Guess what? The country's bigger than just Republicans.
I know. Well, he's got over a 50% approval rating, and your party's got 21%. So he's doing okay. I think making...
Scott Jennings is just constantly beating the hell out of Democrats on CNN. It's amazing. Great.
The idea that we can't ever shrink the size of government because this sob story or that sob story, that is not going to play with the American people. Democrats gave no care whatsoever to the 10,000 people who lost their jobs when the big pipeline was canceled by Joe Biden, or the people who lost their businesses in the COVID shutdowns that went on and on and on, or the firefighters or the military that lost their jobs because they wouldn't get the COVID vaccine. No care for that. But care for government workers.
I don't want to have a part. You can take this on another show. I don't want to have a partisan debate about it, but
of course you don't have a partisan debate about it. You'd lose. He's killing you.
President, and jobs were lost when Trump was president.
Okay.
So,
and you know how dishonest that is because of what happened at the end of COVID and the restoration of
even
jobs.
during the period before COVID, there was more robust job creation in the last 3 years of Obama than the first 3 years
I just don't
Trump.
think Democrats are actually messaging this DOGE thing right. I think that people don't want waste, fraud, and abuse, but I don't actually think that's what they're doing. I think they're just putting a hatchet to our government without any strategy, integrity, or real analysis. They are firing people that play critical roles in our government. People want our government to be more efficient, but that's not the way that DOGE is approaching.
But the reality is most Americans can relate to their someone in their family being laid off. Most people do not get this idea that federal workers are so hard to fire. And I think the messaging of bringing them like they're martyrs when most people have lost jobs, most people have experienced layoffs, I don't know that it resonates with average Americans.
Boy, there's a lot of sense being made on CNN by Alyssa Farah Griffin. That's a weird one to see her making sense, but she's right. I think there's a lot of people who are less concerned about these layoffs than the media is making it out to be. So some sanity being spoke on CNN. Wow, that's good. I don't know where Donald Trump is or what he's doing, but hopefully he'll hurry the hell up.
How great the right track, wrong track numbers are. How many the percentage of individuals who think the country's on the right track versus wrong track. Those numbers were disastrous for President Biden. And it is true that President Trump is more popular right now than he ever was during his first term. But I think it misdiagnoses the situation he's in to act as if his right track, wrong track numbers and his approval ratings are where he would want them to be. They're not. No.
Oh, see, they're good, but they're not good enough. He'd want them to be higher, as we all, of course, would. The argument here, of course, is that the polls are wrong, which is hilarious. Coming from Jake Tapper, that's nice.
I think he's focused enough on inflation, which is what he promised he would do from day one. The majority of the public is still sympathetic to Ukraine, and the majority of Republicans are still sympathetic to Ukraine, not Russia. And you know, there are a lot of people out there, majorities in polls I've seen, concerned that he's overreaching. Now,
I actually like this premise here on the Ukraine thing, mostly because it gives me an opportunity to say this. Jake Tapper's talking about how more Americans support Ukraine over Russia, which is, I mean, a no-brainer. Of course they do. Of course they do. Russia's the bad guy. But that doesn't mean that everything Ukraine does is right. That doesn't mean they're doing what we want them to do. I mean, the simple fact of the matter is, when you go back and you look at polling when it comes to your congressman, you love your congressman, you hate Congress. So it's sort of the same thing. It doesn't mean you like everything your congressman does, but you're okay with him. And that's a similar situation here. Yeah. I like them better than I like Russia, but that doesn't mean that I love Ukraine. I believe Donald Trump is coming, so let's go.
A lot of things. I'm sorry, that's just a fact. He said a lot of things that were just not true. So when he says his approval rating is off the charts and he says the right track, wrong track is off the charts, that's just...
And we are ready for the Sergeant at Arms, William McFarland, to announce the president.
So as he takes this very long walk, where all these people are applauding and clapping, again, look at the agenda here that he needs to get to. Ukraine, economy, those are the two most probably important things. And flip those, by the way. And when it comes to the economy, he needs to talk a lot about tariffs and exactly what the game plan is with those tariffs. I think that's what people are looking for here. And he probably has more people watching because of the Ukraine stuff and the tariff stuff. I think that is a no-brainer on this one. And I think it's important that he needs to explain that to the American people, what his agenda is, what he wants to accomplish, why he'll repeal them, why he won't repeal them, whatever. He's got to make that argument. The Americans are listening. You're already seeing today Walmart and other companies talking about how they're going to go ahead and do what they can to raise prices. Some are calling that price gouging. guys, I don't know if I buy that. They said the whole thing during the 2024 election. Remember? It's not Biden's inflation that was out of control. It was those greedy corporate oligarchs. You're not going to hear that from the mainstream media. Republicans will try to make that argument, but I think that kind of falls on deaf ears. If you're adding 15% cost, then that's literally going to increase the cost. Everyone knows that. If you're adding that, we know that. So the tariffs are, of course, going to add cost. The stuff about the eggs is stupid. There's an avian flu thing, and the prices have not come down from that. That's what's happening. But the rest of this, he has the power to say what he's going to do here. Hopefully he does that.
Shaking hands of some of the generals in the front row here. And just to keep in mind with the Supreme Court justices, he's got a couple of big cases before them right now about whether or not he can freeze foreign aid or fire executive branch officials. So he will be dealing with the Supreme Court quite a bit in the coming weeks and months. Spend some time with them as he makes his way up to the podium.
And he is nominating a new chairman of the Joint Chiefs, which is quite something as well as he shakes those hands. And now as he gets ready to give the speech, shaking the hands of the Vice President and the Speaker, let's listen in to the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, his first joint address in this term, his second overall, and his fifth as President of the United States.
Apparently, while he's coming in, some member of Congress was holding a sign that says this is not normal. These people are so pathetic. Too much internet for these people, folks. Back to the speech.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just realized this thing's going to go on for like 2 hours. Uh-oh.
Honor, thank you very much. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, the First Lady of the United States. Members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back. Six weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started. I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. The American dream is unstoppable, and our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. There's never been anything like it. The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. We won all 7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory of 312 votes.
He's just going to spike this football right in their face. That's awesome.
We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
Awesome. Just stand up and start yelling at him already. We're like 30 seconds in.
And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican. Now, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever. Likewise, small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
Lots of people screaming, get those people out. They're members of Congress. I don't think that's going to happen.
In the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session.
It would be amazing if they start dragging members of Congress out. I support that wholeheartedly. Do it!
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order.
You know what's funny? Green is the worst guy out of all of them to do this because he can't make a coherent argument on anything. This is gonna be awesome. He'll be a star tomorrow, but he's going to make them look terrible. Someone needs to start an asshole chant.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House. Mr. President, you continue.
Thank you. Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record, to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it. In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation. By many. And what makes it even more impressive is that, do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? How about that? I don't know about that list, but we'll take it. Within hours of taking the oath of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever. They heard my words and they chose not to come. Much easier that way. In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that? This is my 5th such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
Amazing. The best thing he has going for him is the quality of his enemies. And these guys are pathetic. They're holding up signs. What losers. God.
So Democrats sitting before me, for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fact that they're holding up "this is not normal" signs is such an internet thing, and it goes to show you how pathetic they are and how audience captured they are.
Every day, my administration is fighting to deliver the change America needs to bring a future that America deserves, and we're doing it. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid. I terminated the ridiculous Green New Scam. I withdrew from the unfair Paris Climate Accord, which was costing us trillions of dollars that other countries were not paying. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization. And I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council. We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our country far less safe and totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction. To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every one new regulation, 10 old regulations must be eliminated, just like I did in my very successful first day. And in that first term, we set records on ending unnecessary rules and regulations like no other president had done before. We ordered all federal workers to return to the office. They will either show up for work in person or be removed from their job. And we've ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good.
How did that work out? Yes, troll them viciously.
And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back. And 2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And likewise, I renamed, for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again.
Oh, there's more than that. He also went back and named Fort Benning today, too. And Fort Bragg, Fort Benning, more of that, please.
We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer. We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important. You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed the poison of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
He is rattling through a list of 80-20 issues, and Democrats are on the wrong side of each and every one of them. Just call it a night and walk away.
I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports. Three years ago, Peyton McNabb was an all-star high school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side, and ending her athletic career. It was a shot like she's never seen before. She's never seen anything like it. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team, or they will lose all federal funding.
Was Matt Walsh and Riley Gaines there?
And if you really want to see numbers, just take a look at what happened in the women's boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, where a male recently finished a long-distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman for a new record by 5 hours. Broke the record by 5 hours. It's demeaning for women, and it's very bad for our country. We're not going to put up with it any longer. What I have just described is only a small fraction of the common sense revolution that is now, because of us, sweeping the entire world. Common sense has become a common theme, and we will never go back. Never. Never going to let that happen. Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. Their policies drove up energy prices, pushed up grocery costs, and drove the necessities of life out of reach for millions and millions of Americans. They've never had anything like it. We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this damage and make America affordable again.
Can't wait to hear what the tariffs role in all of that is. That's what people are concerned about.
Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control, and we're working hard to get it back down. Secretary, do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job.
Are they walking out on the price of eggs? That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is rapidly reducing the cost of energy. The previous administration cut the number of new oil and gas leases by 95%, slowed pipeline construction to a halt, and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many of those power plants right now.
There is a nuclear power plant in North Alabama that they should be working on.
And frankly, we have never seen anything like it. That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill.
Something Sarah Palin was saying in 2008.
My administration is also working on a gigantic natural gas pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world, where Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA. To further combat inflation, we will not only be reducing the cost of energy, but will be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars. And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps. Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight.
I mean, they must think that DOGE is incredibly popular. I mean, they're not steering away from it. They're leaning directly into it. It's smart.
Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. He didn't need this. He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that. Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified.
This is exactly what it needs to do.
$22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real. $32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program. $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City. He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior change in Uganda. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. We know what we're doing. We should use it ourselves. And $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education. The most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated by a group of very intelligent, mostly young people headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it. We found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud. And we've taken back the money and reduced our debt to fight inflation and other things. Taking back a lot of that money. We got it just in time. This is just the beginning. The Government Accountability Office, a federal government office, has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are working very hard to stop it. We're going to. We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program for our seniors, and that our seniors and people that we love rely on. Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old. It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139. 3.5 million people from ages 140 to 149. And money is being paid to many of them. And we're searching right now. In fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out to people because it just keeps getting paid, and nobody does. And it really hurts Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150 to 159, and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby.
Yeah, you know what's kind of funny about this? Like, everyone's laughing about this, and they're all yelling, no, it's not true. Well, either way, there's something wrong with the bookkeeping, so they should want to fix that. Why are they yelling lies? Are they saying that he's just making these numbers up? No. They're arguing those numbers are something else. Well, what are they?
39 people between the ages of 220 and 229. One person between the age of 240 and 249. And one person is listed at 360 years of age. More than 100 years. More than 100 years older than our country. But we're going to find out where that money's going. And it's not going to be pretty. By slashing all of the fraud, waste, and theft we can find, we will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments and grocery prices, protect our seniors, and put more money in the pockets of American families. And today, interest rates took a beautiful drop, big, beautiful drop. It's about time. And in the near future, I want to do what has not been done in 24 years, balance the federal budget. We're going to balance it. With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the green card, but better and more sophisticated. And these people will have to pay tax in our country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our country, we will now bring in brilliant, hardworking, job-creating people. They're going to pay a lot of money, and we're going to reduce our debt with that money. Americans have given us a mandate for bold and profound change. For nearly 100 years, the federal bureaucracy has grown until it has crushed our freedoms, ballooned our deficits, and held back America's potential in every possible way. The nation founded by pioneers and risk-takers now drowns under millions and millions of pages of regulations and debt. Approvals that should take 10 days to get instead take 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years before you're rejected. Meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again.
Democracy, not bureaucracy. It's that simple, folks.
And any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over. And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there. They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that. But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax. Thank you. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous success in our first term with it. A very big part of our plan. We're seeking permanent income tax cuts all across the board. And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation, I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors. And I also want to make interest payments on car loans tax deductible, but only if the car is made in America. And by the way, we're going to have growth in the auto industry like nobody's ever seen. Plants are opening up all over the place. Deals are being made. Never seen. That's a combination of the election win and tariffs. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies, will allow our auto industry to absolutely boom. It's going to boom. Spoke to the majors today, all three, the top people, and they're so excited. In fact, already numerous car companies have announced that they will be building massive automobile plants in America, with Honda just announcing a new plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world. And this has taken place since our great victory on November 5th, a date which will hopefully go down as one of the most important in the history of our country. In addition, as part of our tax cuts, we want to cut taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100% expensing. It will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025, and it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country. First term. We had a great first term.
They're going to jump his ass on that one because of COVID. It made it, those numbers not look so good at the end.
In some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea, but that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was, and so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China, and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer. Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada, but we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer. Thanks to our America First policies we're putting into place, we have had $1.7 trillion of new investment in America in just the past few weeks. The combination of the election and our economic policies that people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won. Apple announced $500 billion investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on earth right here in the USA. And we're not giving them any money. Your CHIPS Act is a horrible, horrible thing. We give hundreds of billions of dollars, and it doesn't mean a thing. They take our money and they don't spend it. All that meant to them, we're giving them no money. All that was important to them was they didn't want to pay the tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many other companies are coming. We don't have to give them money. We just want to protect our businesses and our people. And they will come because they won't have to pay tariffs if they build in America. So it's very amazing. You should get rid of the CHIP Act, and whatever's left over, Mr. Speaker, you should use it to reduce debt or any other reason you want to.
They're not going to do that, but he is standing firm on tariffs. That's very clear. That's true.
Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the farmer. Who will now be selling into our home market, the USA, because nobody is going to be able to compete with you. Because there's goods that come in from other countries and companies, they're really in a bad position in so many different ways. They're uninspected. They may be very dirty and disgusting, and they come in and they pour in, and they hurt our American farmers. The tariffs will go on agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers, starting on April 2nd, it may be a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me again, and this will be even better. That was great. The problem with it was that Biden didn't enforce it. He didn't enforce it. $50 billion of purchases, and we were doing great, but Biden did not enforce it, and it hurt our farmers. But our farmers are going to have a field day right now. So to our farmers, have a lot of fun. I love you too. I love you too. It's all going to happen. And I have also imposed a 25% tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel, because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military, and frankly, we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steelworker, fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama, Jeff Denard. Has been working at the same steel plant for 27 years in a job that has allowed him to serve as the captain of his local volunteer fire department, raise 7 children with his beautiful wife, Nicole, and over the years provide a loving home for more than 40 foster children. So great, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you,
Decatur
Jeff.
in the house.
Stories like Jeff's remind us that tariffs are not just about protecting American jobs. They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much. No, you're not. Oh. And look where Biden took us, very low, the lowest we've ever been. Jeff, I want to thank you very much, and I also want to recognize another person who has devoted herself to foster care community. She works so hard on it. A very loving person, our magnificent First Lady of the United States. Melania's work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders as they enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by two impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson, who benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to complete her education and become a teacher. And Elliston Berry, who became a victim of an illicit deepfake image produced by a peer. With Elliston's help, the Senate just passed the Take It Down Act, and this is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you. Stand up, John. Thank you, John.
Imagine being that loser kid that created that image.
Thank you. And thank you to John Thune and the Senate. Great job. To criminalize the publication of such images online is terrible, terrible thing. And once it passes the House, I look forward to signing that bill into law. Thank you. And I'm going to use that bill for myself, too, if you don't mind. Because nobody gets treated worse than I do online. Nobody. That's great. Thank you very much to the Senate. Thank you. But if we truly care about protecting Americans' children, no step is more crucial than securing America's borders. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world. Because of Joe Biden's insane and very dangerous open border policies, they are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast. And I want to thank Tom Homan and Christy. I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done. Everybody, Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement in general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to. Last year, a brilliant 22-year-old nursing student named Laken Riley, the best in her class, admired by everybody, went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Laken was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and horrifically murdered. Laken was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. It was indeed a failed administration. He had then been arrested and released in a Democrat-run sanctuary city, a disaster, before ending the life of this beautiful young angel. With us this evening are Laken's beloved mother, Allison, and her sister, Lauren. Last year, I told Laken's grieving parents that we would ensure their daughter would not have died in vain. That's why the very first bill I signed into law as your 47th president mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. It's a very strong, powerful act. It's called the Laken-Riley Act. So Allison and Lauren, America will never, ever forget our beautiful Laken Hope Riley. Thank you very much. Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history, and we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded. Thank you. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
He almost gave the line, the media and their Democrats. He didn't quite get there, but almost.
Thank you. Joe Biden didn't just open our borders, he flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America. But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know, Alexis Nungari from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn, walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered. Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are 2 illegal alien monsters from Venezuela, released into America by the last administration through their ridiculous open border. The death of this beautiful 12-year-old girl and the agony of her mother and family touched our entire nation greatly. Alexis, I promised that we would always remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter, and earlier tonight I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much. She loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge, a pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order? Thank you very much. All three savages charged with Jocelyn and Lakin's murders were members of the Venezuelan prison gang, the toughest gang, they say, in the world, known as Tren de Aragua. 2 weeks ago, I officially designated this gang, along with MS-13 and the bloodthirsty Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations. They are now officially in the same category as ISIS, and that's not good for them. Countless thousands of these terrorists were welcomed into the U.S. by the Biden administration. But now every last one will be rounded up and forcibly removed from our country, or, if they're too dangerous, put in jails, standing trial in this country, because we don't want them to come back ever. With us this evening is a warrior on the front lines of that battle, Border Patrol Agent Roberto Ortiz. Great guy. In January, Roberto and another agent were patrolling by the Rio Grande near an area known as Cartel Island. Doesn't sound too nice to me. When heavily armed gunmen started shooting at them, Roberto saw that his partner was totally exposed, at great danger, and he leapt into action, returning fire and providing crucial seconds for his fellow agent to seek safety, just barely. I have some of the prints of that event, and it was not good. Agent Ortiz, we salute you for your great courage and for your line of fire that you took and for the bravery that you showed. We honor you, and we will always honor you. Thank you, Roberto, very much. Thank you, Roberto. And I actually got to know him on my many calls to the border. He's a great gentleman. The territory to the immediate south of our border is now dominated entirely by criminal cartels that murder, rape, torture, and exercise total control. They have total control over a whole nation, posing a grave threat to our national security. The cartels are waging war on America, and it's time for America to wage war on the cartels, which we are doing. Five nights ago, Mexican authorities, because of our tariff policies being imposed on them, think of this, handed over to us 29 of the biggest cartel leaders in their country. That has never happened before. They want to make us happy. First time ever. But we need Mexico and Canada to do much more than they've done, and they have to stop the fentanyl and drugs pouring into the USA. They're going to stop it. I have sent Congress a detailed funding request laying out exactly how we will eliminate these threats to protect our homeland and complete the largest deportation operation in American history, larger even than current record holder, President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a moderate man, but someone who believed very strongly in borders. Americans expect Congress to send me this funding without delay so I can sign it into law. So, Mr. Speaker, John Thune, both of you, I hope you're going to be able to do that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Mr. Leader, thank you. Thank you very much. And let's get it to me. I'll sign it so fast, you won't even believe it. And as we reclaim our sovereignty, we must also bring back law and order to our cities and towns. In recent years, our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics. Many jurisdictions virtually ceased enforcing the law against dangerous repeat offenders while weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents like me. My administration has acted swiftly and decisively to restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law, starting at the FBI and the DOJ. Pam, good luck. Cash, wherever you may be, good luck. Good luck. Pam Bondi. Good luck. So important. Going to do a great job. Cash, thank you. Thank you, Cash. They've already started very strong. They're going to do a fantastic job. You're going to be very proud of them. We're also once again giving our police officers the support, protection, and respect they so dearly deserve. They have to get it. They have such a hard, dangerous job, but we're going to make it less dangerous. The problem is the bad guys don't respect the law, but they're starting to respect it, and they soon will respect it. This also includes our great fire departments throughout the country. Our firemen and women are unbelievable people, and we'll never forget them. And besides that, they voted for me in record numbers, so I have no choice. One year ago this month, 31-year-old New York police officer Jonathan Diller, unbelievably wonderful person and a great officer, was gunned down at a traffic stop on Long Island. I went to his funeral. The vicious criminal charged with his murder had 21 prior arrests, and they were rough arrests, too. He was a real bad one. The thug in the seat next to him had 14 prior arrests and went by the name of Killer. He was Killer. He killed other people, they say, a lot of them. I attended Officer Diller's service, and when I met his wife and one-year-old son, Ryan, it was very inspirational, actually. His widow's name is Stephanie, and she is here tonight. Stephanie, thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you very much. Stephanie, we're going to make sure that Ryan knows his dad was a true hero, New York's finest, and we're going to get these cold-blooded killers and repeat offenders off our streets, and we're going to do it fast. Got to stop it. They get out with 28 arrests. They push people into subway trains. They hit people over the head, back of the head with baseball bats. We got to get them out of here. I've already signed an executive order requiring a mandatory death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer, and tonight I'm asking Congress to pass that policy into permanent law. I'm also asking for a new crime bill getting tough on repeat offenders while enhancing protections for America's police officers so they can do their jobs without fear of their lives being totally destroyed. They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed. Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man
Are
who
Democrats
truly
not
loves our
standing
police.
for this?
His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer. But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
That's awesome.
Thank you, DJ. DJ's doctors believe his cancer likely came from a chemical he was exposed to when he was younger. Since 1975, rates of child cancer have increased by more than 40%. Reversing this trend is one of the top priorities for our new presidential commission to make America healthy again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
Democrats were not cheering that kid. That is so weird.
With the name Kennedy, you would have thought everybody over here would have been cheering. How quickly they forget.
Awesome.
Our goal is to get toxins out of our environment, poisons out of our food supply, and keep our children healthy and strong. As an example, not long ago, and you can't even believe these numbers, 1 in 10,000 children had autism, 1 in 10,000. And now it's 1 in 36. There's something wrong. 1 in 36. Think of that. So we're going to find out what it is, and there's nobody better than Bobby and all of the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby? Good luck. It's a very important job. Thank you. Thank you. My administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago, January, Littlejohn and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Stories like this are why, shortly after taking office, I signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology. I also signed an order to cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth. And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you. Because we're getting wokeness out of our schools and out of our military, and it's already out, and it's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better? Our service members won't be activists and ideologues. They will be fighters and warriors. They will fight for our country. And Pete, congratulations. Secretary of Defense, congratulations. And he's not big into the woke movement, I can tell you. I know him well. I am pleased to report that in January, the U.S. Army had its single best recruiting month in 15 years, and that all armed services are having among the best recruiting results ever in the history of our services. What a difference. And you know, it was just a few months ago where the results were exactly the opposite. We couldn't recruit anywhere. We couldn't recruit. Now we're having the best results just about that we've ever had. What a tremendous turnaround. It's really a beautiful thing to see. People love our country again. It's very simple. They love our country, and they love being in our military again. So it's a great thing, and thank you very much. Great job. Thank you. We're joined tonight by a young man, Jason Hartley, who knows the weight of that call of duty. Jason's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad, who was also a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy when he was just a boy, and now he wants to carry on the family legacy of service. Jason is a senior in high school, a 6-letter varsity athlete, a really good athlete, they say, a brilliant student with a 4.46, that's good, GPA. And his greatest dream is to attend the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. And Jason, that's a very big deal getting in. That's a hard one to get into. But I'm pleased to inform you that your application has been accepted. You will soon be joining the Corps of Cadets. Thank you. Jason, you're going to be on the long gray line, Jason. As Commander-in-Chief, my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, all made in the USA. And Ronald Reagan wanted to do it long ago, but the technology just wasn't there, not even close. But now we have the technology. It's incredible, actually.
Democrats
and
sit
other
for that,
places
too.
They have it. Israel has it. Other places have it. And the United States should have it, too. Right, Tim? Right? They should have it, too. So I want to thank you. But it's a very, very important. This is a very dangerous world. We should have it. We want to be protected, and we're going to protect our citizens like never before. To boost our defense industrial base, we are also going to resurrect the American shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military shipbuilding. And for that purpose, I am announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon. It will have a huge impact. To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it. Just today, a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal and lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and a couple of other canals. The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others, but others could use it. But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the Panama Canal. They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work. They paid them very highly to go there, knowing there was a 25% chance that they would die. The most expensive project also that was ever built in our country's history, if you bring it up to modern day costs. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1. But that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
We're taking it back. Can't wait to hear what he has to say about Ukraine.
And we have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco. Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong. Marco's been amazing, and he's going to do a great job. Think of it. He got 100 votes. You know, he was approved with actually 99, but the 100th was this gentleman, and I feel very certain. So let's assume he got 100 votes. And I'm either very, very happy about that or I'm very concerned about it. But he's already proven. I mean, he's a great gentleman. He's respected by everybody, and we appreciate you voting for Marco. He's going to do a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you. He's doing a great job. Great job. And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
Oh, no. He's threatening them.
We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before. It's a very small population, but very, very large piece of land and very, very important for military security. America is once again standing strong against the forces of radical Islamic terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing, it was the way they withdrew. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice. And I want to thank especially the government of Pakistan for helping arrest this monster. This was a very momentous day for those 13 families who I actually got to know very well, most of them, whose children were murdered, and the many people that were so badly, over 42 people, so badly injured on that fateful day in Afghanistan. What a horrible day. Such incompetence was shown. That when Putin saw what happened, I guess he said, wow, maybe this is my chance. That's how bad it was. Should have never happened. Grossly incompetent people. I spoke to many of the parents and loved ones, and they're all in our hearts tonight. Just spoke to them on the phone. We had a big call. Every one of them called, and everybody was on the line, and they did nothing but cry with happiness. They were very happy, as happy as you can be under those circumstances. Their child, brother, sister, son, daughter was killed for no reason whatsoever. In the Middle East, we're bringing back our hostages from Gaza. In my first term, we achieved one of the most groundbreaking peace agreements in generations, the Abraham Accords. And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region. A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People have been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East.
There it is, Ukraine. Let's get into this.
Actually, to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense with no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes. $2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people. They're not Americans. But I want it to stop. Meanwhile, Europe has sadly spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine, by far. Think of that. They've spent more buying Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened. And they've spent $100 billion. What a difference that is. And we have an ocean separating us, and they don't. But we're getting along very well with them, and lots of good things are happening. Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent by billions and billions of dollars. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have stopped it and said at some point, come on, let's equalize. You got to be equal to us. But that didn't happen. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Democrats won't stand or clap for that. What the hell?
Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Call it out. Call it out. Oh, that they're sitting down over that.
It's time to stop this madness. It's time to halt the killing. It's time to end this senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nearly 4 years ago, amid rising tensions, a history teacher named Mark Fogel was detained in Russia and sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Rough stuff. The previous administration barely lifted a finger to help him. They knew he was innocent, but they had no idea where to begin. But last summer, I promised his 95-year-old mother, Malphine, that we would bring her boy safely back home. After 22 days in office, I did just that, and they are here tonight.
How do they not cheer peace? What is wrong with these people?
To Mark and his great mom, we are delighted to have you safe and sound and with us. As fate would have it, Mark Fogel was born in a small rural town in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of it? Where his mother has lived for the past 78 years. I just happened to go there last July 13th for a rally. That was not pleasant. And that is where I met his beautiful mom right before I walked onto that stage. And I told her I would not forget what she said about her son. And I never did I? Never forgot. Less than 10 minutes later, at that same rally, gunfire rang out, and a sick and deranged assassin unloaded 8 bullets from his sniper's perch into a crowd of many thousands of people. My life was saved by a fraction of an inch, but some were not so lucky. Corey Comparator was a firefighter, a veteran, a Christian, a husband, a devoted father, and above all, a protector. When the sound of gunshots pierced the air, it was a horrible sound. Corey knew instantly what it was and what to do. He threw himself on top of his wife and daughters and shielded them from the bullets with his own body. Corey was hit really hard. You know the story from there. He sacrificed his life to save theirs. 2 others, very fine people, were also seriously hit. But thankfully, with the help of 2 great country doctors, we thought they were gone and they were saved. So those doctors had great talent. We're joined by Corey's wife, Helen, who was his high school sweetheart, and their two beloved daughters, Allison and Kaylee. Thank you. To Helen, Allison, and Kaylee, Corey is looking down on his three beautiful ladies right now, and he is cheering you on. He loves you. He is cheering you on. Corey was taken from us much too soon, but his destiny was to leave us all with a shining example of the selfless devotion of a true American patriot. It was love like Corey's that built our country, and it's love like Corey's that is going to make our country more majestic than ever before. I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. From the patriots of Lexington and Concord to the heroes of Gettysburg and Normandy, from the warriors who crossed the Delaware to the trailblazers who climbed the Rockies, and from the legends who soared at Kitty Hawk to the astronauts who touched the moon, Americans have always been the people who defied all odds, transcended all dangers, made the most extraordinary sacrifices, and did whatever it took to defend our children, our country, and our freedom. And as we have seen in this chamber tonight, that same strength, faith, love, and spirit is still alive and thriving in the hearts of the American people. Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free, and we will fight for it till death. We will never let anything happen to our beloved country, because we are a country of doers, dreamers, fighters, and survivors. Our ancestors crossed a vast ocean, strode into the unknown wilderness, and carved their fortunes from the rock and soil of a perilous and very dangerous frontier. They chased our destiny across a boundless continent. They built the railroads, laid the highways, and graced the world with American marvels like the Empire State Building, the mighty Hoover Dam, and the towering Golden Gate Bridge. They lit the world with electricity, broke free of the force of gravity, fired up the engines of American industry, vanquished the communists, fascists, and Marxists all over the world, and gave us countless modern wonders sculptured out of iron, glass, and steel. We stand on the shoulders of these pioneers who won and built the modern age, these workers who poured their sweat into the skylines of our cities, these warriors who shed their blood on fields of battle and gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. Now it is our time to take up the righteous cause of American liberty. And it is our turn to take America's destiny into our own hands and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to lead this nation even higher. And we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth. We are going to create the highest quality of life, build the safest and wealthiest and healthiest and most vital communities anywhere in the world. We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond. And through it all, we are going to rediscover the unstoppable power of the American spirit. And we are going to renew unlimited promise of the American dream. Every single day, we will stand up and we will fight, fight, fight for the country our citizens believe in and for the country our people deserve. My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
All right, so they're going to call that divisive. It was a rallying cry, no question about it. I think that this was pretty good, speaking directly to what the issues are and what the issues will be moving forward. The Ukraine stuff, sounds like he's got himself a little bit of a plan there. On the economy, he's holding firm on the tariffs, no new deals or anything discussed there. And it looks like he is going to lean on the idea that the American people think we're moving in the right direction at this point. The media is trying their best to drag those numbers down. Democrats clearly unhappy and miserable here. And if you watch that, you saw it. We'll go around a little bit and see what others are saying about this. And then we'll call it a night.
Do a lot in terms of listing some wacky DOGE spend.
He talked about tariffs. He talked about the border. He brought in some cultural issues. There were some touching moments with Americans, one getting into West Point, one who a 13-year-old suffering from brain cancer being made an honorary Secret Service agent.
Thank you very much.
It was disruptive what Congressman Al Green, Democrat of Texas, stood and yelled at the president and had to be escorted out. He, I believe, was saying that the president didn't have a mandate to get rid of Medicaid. Many Democrats made their displeasure with the president's speech known by walking out or holding up signs. The president went on an extended length talking about DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, and
the Democrats here, again, I think look really bad. Elizabeth Warren gets called Pocahontas to her face. He says she wants to continue the war in Ukraine, and she starts clapping like a psychopath. A lot of people walked out and embarrassed themselves. I can't wait to learn about all these specifics of the people who walked out and what their argument is. Al Green will be the star tomorrow, but he is a terrible star, and he will embarrass himself and Democrats further. This was not a good night for them.
Top terrorist who was responsible for the Abbey Gate attack in 2021 in Afghanistan has been apprehended, at least in partnership with the government of Pakistan, and is on his way to the United States.
So both CNN and MSNBC right now are referring to this as a divisive speech. I don't know. I'm sorry. I can tell you right now, never have been a super Trump fan, but what was divisive about this? I can't give you an answer to that.
Security is not paying benefits in large numbers to 300-year-old people or 250-year-old people or 200-year-old people or 150.
All you have to do is look at what they're complaining about. If that's true, which I think it is, I think she's actually right. There's clearly some bookkeeping errors there. Let's find out what those are, and then we can make the argument that these things aren't being paid out. That's fine, but they're showing Social Security numbers that are 300 years old in the system. What is being paid? What should be being paid? Lay that information out. Don't just dismiss it out of hand. You don't know that. Rachel Maddow knows nothing of this.
Quote, we've never seen. The president flat out lied about U.S. versus European spending to support what used to be our allies in Ukraine. The U.S. has committed about $125 billion to Ukraine's defense. Europe has committed about $259 billion. The president radically misstating the character and quantity of our relative support for what used to be our ally, now appears to be only Europe's ally and no longer ours. For the record, Joe Biden did not close over 100 power plants. There were more utility-sized power plants up and running in the United States when Joe Biden left office than when he achieved office. For the record, there is no EV mandate. For the record, oil and gas production in the United States hit all-time records under President Joe Biden. For the record, even DOGE has never claimed that they have saved hundreds of billions of dollars in savings. The largest items they have claimed to achieve as savings in the U.S. budget have been debunked and they've been taken down, but even they don't falsely claim hundreds of billions of dollars worth of saving.
Again, these people are sad, and they're going to continue being sad about this. We're drilling more. They're opening more land for it. That's clear. What he said about DOGE was $500 billion a year is being wasted, and they're going to fight it. That's what he actually said. But Rachel Maddow is an unrepentant liar, so that's just the way it is.
And we'll see how it goes. But congratulations to the president tonight.
Dana, Democrats could have brought people together if they had stood up in some of those moments, which should be things that everybody can celebrate. But what really stood out to you tonight?
Well, at the beginning of the speech, he started off by saying, there's nothing I can say that is going to make you clap for me. And then they proved him right. Now, many Democrats did not defend Al Green as he was escorted out. They didn't fight that. Many other Democrats left during this and went and did little videos. But I think that what it showed is that the Democratic Party still has no common sense. They have no ideas, and they have no heart. They couldn't even stand for the most inspiring moments of this speech.
Larry, there were multiple times where he talked about tariffs, and that's obviously a rocky road if you look at the markets over the last couple of days and people talking about it. In that, he said there will be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that.
Yes.
But I heard your reaction when he also talked about tax cuts and expenses for businesses.
Yes, this is such a colossally positive, upbeat. It's like America has no limit speech. And I love the fact that he's unleashing prosperity through tax cuts. In fact, he said we're going to make them retroactive to January 1st on the business investment side, which is going to be so well received by companies and the stock market tomorrow. And I think the tariff thing, Brett, you have to put it in the context of all the other things he talked about. He talked about drilling and liquid gold. Yes, the tax cuts. He spent a lot of time. We're cutting spending with DOGE. He hit all those people. He's sort of saying, look, we have an economic policy that is unlimited. We're going to carry the country forward. Whether you believe him or not, I think it was just an incredibly optimistic vision.
Okay, we're seeing the adjournment of the House right now. We're going to have more with our panel and get ready for the Democratic response after a quick break.
The House will be in
Yeah, I'm not hanging around for the Democratic response. Thank you very much to the 550-ish plus people for being here and watching. Appreciate that. Appreciate some of the feedback we've gotten as well. I'll be on the